What's happening, everybody? You're listening to another episode of The Soundtrack, a podcast discussing film, television, and video game music with the fans, geeks, and super freaks. Hey, hope everyone's having a great holiday season so far. It's your host, Zack. I got another great show for you this month. Sort of a post-Thanksgiving, pre-Christmas episode, if you like. I'm just really looking forward to talking about just some of my favorite Christmas music from movies and a little bit of TV. There'll be a little bit of TV in there too. And it'll be kind of spanning a long period of time. I've got some classic stuff as well as some a little bit more recent Christmas music too. I didn't really want to focus on like one specific holiday soundtrack this time around. I wanted to just see if I could, how much I could fit in one episode. And it's kind of hard to rank it too, you know, like top 5, top 10. I'll get back to doing those ranked lists in the future, but it'd be hard to do for a Christmas episode. Man, music's just so subjective. It's hard to really rank some of that stuff without you know, making a lot of people angry at me. So I'm gonna do my best, but that'll be in the future. For this episode, I'm just gonna talk about some of my favorite stuff. And as always, I got a special guest, and this episode, it's going to be my brother Alex again. I've had Alex on. I promise I'll get some new guests. Actually, I think I'm going to have a new special guest next month, but Alex is going to be on again. We're going to talk about our favorite Christmas music, growing up together and all that stuff. And so, yeah, it should be another great time. I'm looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. Before that, I just wanted to, I think I mentioned in my last episode how I want to start like a short little series here of like YouTube creator spotlights. I want to do a spotlight on a different musician or some YouTube channel creator that has really kind of inspired me, and I've just really enjoyed watching their videos on YouTube, and I just kind of wanted to give them some more exposure because I really admire the work that they do, and I feel like more people should at least be aware of what they're doing because it's some really cool stuff. And there's actually two people the first two people I want to talk about are friends, I believe, and actually have worked together on a few projects. Their names are Brent Black. His YouTube channel is Brental Floss. And his friend is Dave Ballmer. His channel is called Demon Tomato Dave. Well, actually, he's from the UK, so I guess it'd be Demon Tomato Dave. So, yeah, so there are a couple of great, like, kind of songwriters, musicians. They do some different stuff. They're kind of multi-talented, but they work together. And I just wanted to talk about Dave Ballmer specifically on this episode just because I was watching a video. Brent Black is popular for doing videos about video game music and like adding lyrics to existing video game tunes. It's called the What If Such and Such Had Lyrics series. That's kind of the series that he does, and it's really brilliant. And on some occasions, he's worked with Dave Ballmer, Demon Tomato Dave, and they did this one in particular video. It was just kind of a massive project. They did the video game, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time with lyrics. They did this very long, it was like a 9-minute video, and it was just brilliant. And then I happened to be watching recently one of their, like, kind of a bonus feature video that came out. I think the video itself was released on around Christmas time, around this time a couple years ago, and then Dave released some kind of bonus content a year following the release of that video, one of their most successful videos. So I thought it'd be perfect to talk about Dave just a little bit for my first spotlight here. He's a great lyricist. He's pretty multi-talented. He does a lot of different stuff, and his YouTube videos are very different. They're not all about music, but when he does do a lot of music stuff, he's a very skilled lyricist. Like he really understands lyrics very well, and he's also very good with like a cappella. He really understands a cappella harmony and all that stuff. I think in that Ocarina of Time video, he recorded all the backing tracks himself with just his voice. It's pretty amazing. I think he said in one of his videos is over 100 tracks or something like that. It was all him. Like he just did all this music, and he edited the music in such a way. You'll have to see all this watch the video if you haven't, and then see all the special features, because he explains how he was able to manipulate all this video game music that, you know, kind of goes on forever. You know, it just kind of loops because it's, you know, it's video game music. So the purpose of it is to keep going. But the Ocarina of Time soundtrack is very ingenious in itself, and I'll talk more about that in a later episode. But just the way he manipulates the music to, you know, they make a medley out of it, and they have all these different songs, and the way he superimposes different songs on top of each other, different themes happening to really make this story out of the music. It's really incredible. And he does all the backing tracks himself, and it's just really spectacular. So I thought I'd just kind of give him a shout out. Check out Dave Ballmer, Demon Tomato Dave. Yeah, he's just really funny and really creative. It's really cool to follow his YouTube videos. So check out Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time with lyrics, that video, because you'll get a good idea of who Dave is, but also Brent Black, Brentalfloss, who I'll probably talk about next time, the next time I do one of these spotlights. And maybe even also check out Super Mario Land and Super Mario Land 2 with lyrics, those two videos, because I think the two of them collaborate in those videos as well, those two songs. And it's really entertaining. They're so hilarious together. They're great individually too, but I think it'd be a good way to get introduced to both of them at the same time. Check out both of them at the same time by watching those videos. So, all right, that's my first YouTube creator spotlight, and I look forward to doing the next one. But right now, let's just get into the holiday spirit and talk about some of my favorite Christmas songs. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to start off with a classic Christmas song, and it's interesting because it's not classic in the sense that it's not bright, it's not cheerful like Christmas is. It's kind of the exact opposite, but I think it's just because so many people have grown up listening to this song and watching the movie How the Grinch Stole Christmas. You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch is such an iconic song. I think that even though it doesn't have the Christmas sound, like you generally when we listen to Christmas music, there's kind of a specific sound in terms of maybe like sleigh bells or certain instruments. It's usually major key songs, but there has to be some of those minor key songs in there. There has to be that different angle, you know, of Christmas. Some people see Christmas as a very, you know, selfish time. You know, the Grinch is a very selfish person, so you kind of have to get those two sides of the coin there. And I think this song, The Grinch, really captures that feeling. And so even though it's not a bright, happy song, there are songs like that in the movie, but this song sticks out so much because it's the exact opposite. And I think that's the song that we've kind of gravitated towards, been covered by so many people over the years. It's lyrics were by Dr. Seuss, obviously. Albert Haig wrote the music, and Thurl Ravenscroft is who made the song famous with his gloriously deep voice. I looked this up. I guess apparently Ravenscroft was also the voice of Tony the Tiger originally, which I thought was pretty cool. And after listening to the song, I could hear that. It was weird. I didn't until I read that. I hadn't thought about that. So I thought that was cool. Thurl Ravenscroft really popularized the song. Great performance. I'm just going to share a couple of my favorite things about this song, like what makes it so great. What really makes this song stick out is the incredibly vivid word choice. It's just astounding how descriptive this song is, and it's pretty much entirely verses. There's no chorus. The only real repetition that you hear in this song is the very first line. You're a blank Mr. Grinch, or you're this Mr. Grinch, whatever. And that's pretty amazing. And so all the lyrics beyond that relate back to that first line, the very first line. It's the title of the song. It's just a very unusual song structure to what we hear now. Usually the chorus, there's lots of chorus and it's repeated, so you get like a whole section of music that has that main idea. But in this particular song, the first line is the main idea, and then everything you write after that, still the same idea. The lyrics all relate back to the title. That's a great songwriting tip for anybody out there writing a song. Make sure that all your lyrics in your verses, even the chorus lyrics, make sure that it all relates back to the title in some way. Just make sure that your audience totally understands what you're trying to communicate. So yeah, there's great lyrics all throughout, and they all relate back to the very beginning, that first line so well, and they relate to the title. Song really gets the point across. And just some of my favorite lyrics that they use in this song are like, "You're a crooked, jerky jockey, and you drive a crooked horse." I think that's a very interesting line. It's so unlike the other line. It's so unlike the other lyrics in the song. Most of the other lyrics are convey something like disgusting, unsightly, sickening. But like a jerky jockey is like, it says all pretty much the same thing, but in a pretty different way. It's just another angle. Like he's very twisted. He's not right, obviously. And I just think that's a very clever line. It's a little bit different than the other, like moldy purple spots, garlic in your soul, those lines like that happen throughout the song. Termites in your smile, stuff like that. It's just like it goes away from the kind of the grossness, the disgusting imagery, and jerky jockey I just think is such a clever line. And then also my other favorite lyric in this song is the first lyric after "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch" at the very beginning of the song, and that's "You really are a heel." And I think I really like that line because when you talk about writing good song lyrics, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it or how you sing it. I've probably talked about this before, but "you really are a heel." That heel really jumps out because it's a long vowel, a long E, and you can really hold that note, and it's just kind of a fun line to sing. And I've heard that lyric interpret in all these different covers of the song. I've heard people interpret it differently, and it's very interesting. And then so you've got these great lyrics, but at the same time you've got this perfect accompaniment that if you listen to the original version of this song, it never changes. It's basically just repeated, but the very beginning is always the same, which is fine because I feel like that accompaniment really works. The musicians behind underneath the vocals really makes sense, so I feel like if you've got something like simple enough that it really it elevates what's going on, rather than getting in the way, do that. It fills the spaces, the little interjections in the brass, just certain things that fill in the rest of what's going on, that kind of make up the big picture of the song. It's great. Don't change it. You might as well just repeat that over and over, because really what it is just an accompaniment. It's not supposed to, grab your attention too much, because in this type of song, you really want to just be hearing the lyrics. And you're also obviously watching it with stuff that's happening on screen. It's part of a movie. So you want all your attention to be devoted to that. You don't want to be, the music's not important there anyway. And, me being a musician, like I like to hear those inner lines and things that are happening behind and underneath and all around. But at the same time, you have to understand your role as a musician, whether you're a performer or like an instrumentalist or a singer. You have to understand your role. And I think what's so great about this song is that the roles are clearly established, and you really, they want you to hear those lyrics. And they do a successful job of supporting it without really getting in the way. And there's just certain techniques within the ensemble that they use, certain chord voicings and dynamic contrasts that really affect the song without getting in the way of the song. These things happen at the right times. So I just think it's great how the accompaniment works together and it fits with the lyrics. But also, so when you do actually listen closely to the accompaniment, you listen to the orchestra, you can hear how the song is really supposed to be more like a swing. It's kind of like a slower swing tune, nasty, you know, maybe sort of like sardonic, kind of that kind of thing, like that kind of attitude. It just has a like a bad attitude. But at the same time, there's like there's a juxtaposition with like straight eighth notes that you can hear. You hear it every time at the very beginning of each verse. The clarinets play the same like triplet figure. They play the same triplet figure, and then a little bit after that, the rhythm section, the rhythm instruments play like a syncopated figure, like on the upbeats, but they play them straight. They don't. They conflict with the triplet feel that's happening because all of a sudden it's just in straight time. So you can't really tell like what sort of feel you're going for. It's like it's obviously jazzy. There's like clarinet sound, like you've got kind of jazzy sounds, but at the same time it's you just can't really tell based on the rhythm like what the feel is, you know. So that's what gives you that conflicting kind of a feel, and which is perfect. It reflects the song perfectly, and it reflects the lyrics because, you know, like a, you know, crooked jerky jockey, like that's basically what's happening is like the time is just so uncomfortable, you know, that it's just creating this really like interesting, like it's very cartoony, like it really reflects the style of the animation and the story, everything that's happening there. So I think it's just a great technique that's used. I'm going to play a little bit of it just so you can kind of hear that that conflict that's going on and like kind of how discombobulated it sounds. Like it just kind of it doesn't sound totally smooth. It's not really smooth, but at the same time there is a smoothness to it because the Grinch is, you know, like slinky and sleuthy, you know. So it's it's just there's a lot of like contradicting elements to this music that really all together, when you put it all together, really does feel like the Grinch, like in music form, kind of. So here it is. Listen to like the first few measures of, because it happens over and over again. So here's just the first few measures of the verse.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a...
And let me just say before moving on that I think of all the covers of this song that have ever existed, there's just so many artists have covered this song. I think my favorite version, I think the best version of this song was recorded by Take Six. It was on the album The Most Wonderful Time of the Year, I think is the name of the album, by Take Six, a great vocal group. They do just a great cover of the song, and what's great about it is they really they take the elements from the original recording. They take a lot of those harmony parts, accompaniments, and they elaborate on it rather than doing something completely different, rather than throwing it all away. They use those ideas from the original version, and they just warp it a little bit, and they put their style into it because they're really great at gospel, jazz, all that stuff. There's really like there's a dramatic style shift that happens in there, but like they all have such great time that they can they change rhythms here and there, but it all kind of it still stays together. It just stays really glued together. They're just such fantastic musicians, I think. So yeah, the Take Six version of "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch" is my favorite version of the song, but the original version, "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch," is such a great Christmas tune in like kind of a non-conventional sense. It's just it's very synonymous with Christmas, and I thought it was a perfect way to start off this list.
The three words best to describe you are as follows, and I quote: to stink, stank, stunk.
Okay, I heard that. You going there now, huh?
Okay, next I want to talk about actually a group of songs that it's really hard to say which song is the best, because I think my favorite song in the Polar Express is Hot Chocolate, I think, but that doesn't really have anything to do with Christmas. It's just my favorite track in the movie. It's my favorite tune in the movie. But there's a lot of great music in this soundtrack, and I feel like the soundtrack really carries the movie because, to be honest, the movie's not very memorable for me. It's all right. It's an okay movie, but it's nothing that I that really sticks in my mind. I think just more the song Hot Chocolate is kind of nostalgic to me because when I was 13, when I was in middle school, we played that song in a jazz band. I played drums on it, and that tune has a very important drum part. So Hot Chocolate is more nostalgic to me than anything. But the soundtrack is actually really strong. And also, Rockin' on Top of the World is a great tune, but that's also doesn't really have much to do with Christmas. I played that song in the car for my brother the other day just to see if he could guess what movie it was from, and he didn't know. He got it was North Pole. He knew it was a Christmas movie, but he just had no idea it was from Polar Express, and I wouldn't have been able to guess either if somebody tried to do that to me. So I just like picking on my brother sometimes with that kind of stuff. But it's fun. We like to try and get each other to guess quotes and stuff, and songs. But this particular song, like, it's just, you couldn't really say, if somebody asked you what Rockin' on Top of the World is from, I wouldn't be able to guess. But it's still a nice song. It's just that there's no distinct quality about it that gets you to think of Christmas, or that gets you to think of that movie. But there are a couple of songs in that movie that do that. Obviously, the very first song, I think, in the movie, the Polar Express, basically the song about the train itself at the very beginning of the movie, that's a great song because really, like, you actually have some elements of Christmas in there, that the children's choir, the children's chorus, and you've got and then you also have like the train sound, like the train rhythm. You've got the drums playing like brushes on the snare drum, and that kind of thing. So it's like it's playing strict time. So like you've got this driving forward, and so that's, it sounds like a train, that's Polar Express. So boom, like there you go. See, some of the other songs don't do that, but that's not like every song in the movie has to do that, because at that point you already know what show you're watching. But it's songs like that, like that's a great first song to have in the movie, because you really get that understanding of, that's the train, that's the train rhythm, plus all these like cascading string textures and woodwind textures happening over the top of that driving rhythm that are like longer note values, longer melodies and stuff like that. Gets you like that's just such a perfect combination of or not a combination, but like a great balance. Like that's like perfect balance, having those two different elements, very distinct elements. I think my favorite part of that song, though, is this really strong forward-moving bass line that happens every time the Polar Express lyric comes up at the end of every verse, at the end of every phrase. There's just a great downward-moving bass line that happens that really propels the song forward, and it like just gives a very strong harmonic structure to that song. And I think with all those other elements in there, you've got this great bass line that really is the foundation for all that. So I think that's one of my favorite parts of that song. And then you've got a song, I think a little bit later in the movie, Spirit of the Season, I think it's called. That's your big orchestral number. That's your big Christmas orchestral icon of a piece of music in this movie. Very big leaps in the brass, like very big leaps in the melody. It's just a really grand feeling that you get from this melody, and from like that's the hook of the tune right there. That's what you remember about that. So like it's great. The great thing about film music and orchestral music is that, like any pop song, there can be a great hook. There can be a great quality about a song that, whether or not there's words in it or whatever the style is, there's always something that can catch the listener's attention. Yeah, and Spirit of the Season, it's just like that's the quintessential piece of Christmas music in this movie, I think. Brass heavy, but like there's everything in it. Like the song just has a little bit of everything, and it's just so forceful and joyous. Like those are the words that come to my mind when I think of that song, Spirit of the Season. So the Polar Express, just overall, that is definitely like a Christmas movie. Like in contrast to like the Grinch. This is more like what we're used to seeing and hearing about Christmas, and I think that's why, like, The Polar Express is a beautiful movie, even though I personally don't care for it that much, but it's a great piece of work for the Christmas holiday and the Christmas season. And that's why I decided to include it. That's why it's some of my favorite Christmas music, because it has that feeling. And it's not a movie that one would instantly go to in their mind as Christmas, as their favorite thing about Christmas, or even about Christmas music. I don't know, but I think The Polar Express is just one of the best things about Christmas, my Christmas experience. And just there's a little bit of nostalgia in there for me as well. Great blend of jazz and orchestral styles. It's just everything is really enjoyable about that music. So yeah, The Polar Express, great movie, and I'm just gonna have to put that on and watch that if it's not on TV. I bet it'll be on TV a million times over the next couple of months. But I'd like to see that movie again. Maybe I'll have a different opinion second time around. Okay, so as you may know, I was going to do an episode in this podcast series about Family Guy and about the music from Family Guy, but I ran into a lot of problems, and one of the problems that I ran into on a lot of the songs was I was doing my research, and I hadn't done enough research before putting the podcast together about where certain songs came from. I tried to do just a list of music. I tried to exclude like songs that were referenced to something else, like unoriginal music. I was trying to avoid that, but I realized there was a lot more. They Family Guy stole a lot more songs. Even if they changed the lyrics, they stole a lot of songs and a lot of inspiration from a ton of like more like classic older movies and stuff like that, and musicals and stuff. And I just couldn't. I had to kind of put the brakes on that project because I needed to do more research as to what really is original music in Family Guy. Because there is some original music in Family Guy, even though a lot of the music that they've taken and a lot of the jokes and references in that show is just so unoriginal. There are some original things about Family Guy, and that's why I still like Family Guy. Family Guy, at least the classics, will always have a special place in my heart, and especially the music. So I will probably get back to that at some point once I know for sure where all the music is from, so that I can, better represent the works that the Family Guy songs are derived from, just so that you guys are aware. I don't want to be giving out false information. So, but for the next song that I want to talk about actually is, I believe, an original song, and because a lot of the original music in Family Guy has actually been nominated for awards and stuff like that, or has even won some either nominated for Grammys or Emmys. I'm not sure. Again, I'll have to go back and look. You can fact check me on all this stuff too, but. Yeah, there's whenever they do original music, it's always fantastic. It's a Wonderful Day for Pie, for example, from the episode Road to the Multiverse. That song, I think, won an award. But then in another Roadshow episode, if you've seen the show Family Guy, they do Stewie and Brian go on these these road trip kind of adventures, like they're adventure episodes with the two of them, and usually there's a musical number involved. And it's some of the best episodes that Family Guy does. And in the episode Road to the North Pole, which I think was season 9, roughly, somewhere in there, there was a song in that episode, actually 2 songs, but I'm going to only talk about one of them. The one song I wanted to talk about, going back to kind of the depressing angle of Christmas, kind of like an anti-Christmas song in a way. In the second half of the episode, there's a song called Christmas Time Is Killing Us. And I think both of the Christmas songs in this episode are great. And now we're finally getting into some TV applications of Christmas songs rather than movies, which is great. This song, Christmas Time Is Killing Us, is great because it's like the total opposite. It's like the answer to the song they do at the beginning, All I Really Want for Christmas. And that's like the happy, kind of a typical Christmas song, kind of like we talked about. But the reason why I wanted to talk about Christmas Time Is Killing Us as opposed to the other one is Christmas Time is Killing Us is by Ron Jones. All I Really Want for Christmas is actually, while it's an original, I think it's an original Family Guy song technically, it wasn't, the song didn't first appear in that episode. Its origins go back to an earlier Christmas album, and the song was actually written by Walter Murphy, so I was mistaken, I think, in that regard. I was going to talk about these two songs in that Family Guy podcast episode, but I'm going to talk about one of them here. I'll talk about Christmas Time is Killing Us, because that one I know for sure was written for this episode, I think, and by Ron Jones, too, a different composer. Now, to be honest, I love Walter Murphy. He's one of my all-time favorite composers, but in terms of these two songs, in this episode, if you want to compare the two, I think the Christmas Time is Killing Us is a little bit better than the other song, even though I feel like Walter Murphy is a little bit better composer than Ron Jones. It's really tough. You can't really compare. But in terms of these two songs, Christmas Time is Killing Us is a fantastic song because there's so much more contrast in this song. And what I mean is, so basically what the song is about is Stewie and Brian, it's Road to the North Pole. So they travel to the North Pole to see Santa because Stewie wants to get his revenge on Santa, and so they want to go to the North Pole. But then when they get there, they realize that Santa, because of all of the selfishness that was established in the opening song at the very beginning of the episode, they come to realize that the North Pole is basically hell, and Santa's been dried up, like he's got no magic left. He's not jolly anymore. It's just a very depressing scene because people are so selfish he can't meet the demand, you know. It's like more of a realistic version of Christmas, like if if you want to think about it that way. But yeah, it's a great song. Like there's great contrast in the song because they meet Santa, and so Santa starts saying how it's so grim, and and we're tired. This is how it is here now. Christmas in the North Pole, it's a disaster. It's just pain pretty much. But then Stewie offers like kind of a rebuttal that's like super contrasting to like the main melody. So you've got like the main melody, and then you've got like this. So you've got like the A section, the verse where Santa talks about his problems, but then Stewie, the B section, Stewie comes back with, an argument for why Santa is so great, and, you can't give up, that kind of thing. Like, he's very positive, which is unusual for Stewie. But yeah, he's just trying to be very positive and picking up Santa, and the music changes to fit those different styles. So you've got a very dynamic tune. You have a much more, this song is much more diverse in terms of technique, and those sort of things. Let me tell you, one of the major thing that happens in this song that really creates this great contrast. Where it happens is in the melody, and not just, and that can be kind of generic because like the melody has different properties that make it memorable. So what makes this melody so unique? What makes this melody interesting is the shape of the melody, like the line, not necessarily the rhythm, but the line, like the shape of the notes. Like if you were to graph out like on a piece of paper like the note choices, and like if you connected them all together with a line, you would get this this shape. You've got these very interesting lines, and one of them in the verse, when Santa sings, you've got this interesting kind of downward motion. Since this is in a minor key, it's like kind of a depressing song, or at least this section of the song is supposed to be sadder, more depressing. You've got kind of a downward shape happening with this melody. You've got it kind of hangs, like the phrase starts at the top, and then you've got like these dips to lower notes and then back up, and then eventually you end like kind of on a low root note. So it's like you're feeling the melody kind of sliding down to the bottom and stopping. Whereas in the Stewie section, you have this start at the bottom, and then you've got this leap up to the top, and then it kind of comes back down, and the phrase starts at the bottom coming up. So you have this feeling of lift, positivity, right? And then the phrase kind of like Stewie ends his phrase before Santa takes over. Stewie stops his phrase kind of on a higher note, kind of in the middle, rather than coming back down to the bottom. So listen to these two distinct melody shapes that kind of are the opposites of each other, but like create this really beautiful contrast, and that matches the lyrics and it matches the tone of the overall song. Here it is.
Each bell would peal with a silvery zeal as the holiday feeling was hailing us. But now instead all we're feeling is dread because Christmas time is killing us.
But can't you see that what you do is a dream come true? Can't you see that every smile makes it all worthwhile?
No.
See, they're such strong melodies, and it's so interesting because there's so much shape. There's a lot of leaps. It's very interesting with all the leaps that are in these melodies and these lines, but it's still very singable. Like you can still sing along with it. It's pretty easy, and coupled with like fun lyrics to sing. Like it has that Family Guy stamp on it. So it's one of those things that's kind of fun to sing, even if it's not the happiest song. It's still you enjoy it, and I think with these interesting shapes, you just get very unique melodies that I think really stick with you. So yeah, that's Christmas Time is Killing Us, and also check out All I Really Want for Christmas. That's a very entertaining song too, and it's very happy. And I'll probably talk about that song as well at some point whenever I do my Family Guy episode, my Family Guy Spotlight. Also listen to melodic shapes in that song as well, because there's some very interesting things happening in that song. Also orchestration wise, there's a lot of interesting stuff in that too. So we'll get to that eventually. But all right, one more song to go. Okay, so one more song now I want to talk about, and we'll turn it back to, we'll end this this main topic on a lighter note. I want to end with something happier because it is Christmas after all. And I want to talk about another classic Christmas movie, at least in my time, in my childhood. A Muppet Christmas Carol is probably a classic. It's based off of the story by Charles Dickens, and with all Muppets characters, so it's great. And there's lots of great music in it. And the one song I want to focus on is actually, it's the very last song before the finale. It's called Thankful Heart, and I feel like, I don't know if it's just me, if I just didn't remember this song when I watched this as a kid. I honestly had a very short attention span, so I only remember like the first half of the movie, and then I probably just stopped watching. But the song Thankful Heart at the very end, this is what the whole movie is leading to, and this song is proof of Ebenezer Scrooge's growth as a character throughout the story. He learns the true meaning of Christmas by the time he sings this song. This is the realization, as you have to be appreciative of other people, and this is a time for giving. This is really what Christmas is all about. I feel like they really nailed it with this song. And what's amazing about this song is how simple it is. It's not too complicated. It's the very last song before the finale, so it isn't even really like the big grand finale, but it's setting you up for that. And what's amazing about it is just how simple it is, but how beautiful it is, and how it really just, the message is so straightforward. I wish I was that good at writing a song that was as straightforward as this song is. And it's really nice because it's very straightforward. It's just AABA basically. That's the form, and then there's like a simple tagged ending. It's very like standard song structure. The form is very standard, but it's just such a perfect way to convey the message. And that's what's so great, is using just a very common song form that our ears are used to listening to. And it's just amazing how the same music can go a lot of different ways, but there's certain ways that it has always stayed the same, and our ears will always like music that follows certain guidelines. I'm going to say guidelines, not rules, because it's okay to break rules in music sometimes, but there's just certain traditions that our ears have grown accustomed to, and certain things that our brains latch onto when we listen to music, no matter what type of song it is. This song is so great because really between like easily expressed lyrics, it's not really fancy. They're pretty clear, and then you couple that with like very strong chord progressions, a lot of like these very strong chord progressions, like I was talking about in Spirit of the Season, in the One Polar Express song. or actually, no, it wasn't in that one. It was in the Polar Express song, the very first song in the movie. How at the end of that, at the end of each section of the main of the verse, you had this very strong chord progression leading up to on the Polar Express. Like you had that, like the period to the sentence. Like you had a very strong bass line getting you to the end of that phrase, getting you to the end of that sentence, getting you to the end of that section, like a period, like putting a strong period on it. Well, this song does pretty much the same thing. There's a very strong root movement that allows the song to get back to the one chord. And just listen to it because of how, and it also, again, like the title of the song comes into play at the very end of this section, Thankful Heart. Listen to how this bass line and this whole chord progression really, sounds final. You get this this sense of you get this strong sense of resolution at the end of every section, at the end of every verse, and just listen to it. It's just so beautiful.
Yes, and every night will end, and every day will start with a grateful prayer and a thankful heart.
See, it's gorgeous. It's such a gorgeous, strong chord progression. But then even right before that, there's another element to the song that is very nice. How there's like this great repetition. Like it's very simple repetition, but it's like kind of getting you. It's making that strong resolution at the end that much more. You're anticipating it that much more because of the repetition that happens right before that. And so I'll play that back. I'll play like the section just before the final resolution, so you can hear how that extra anticipation and that repetition leads you to the end of the phrase. So there's not just a strong resolution, but there's like a strong like tension that's kind of building up. Not tension like in a rough way, just like a sense of it, that it's not settled yet. So like this is how you like build a phrase. We're building like a very strong, we're communicating a very effective sentence, if you will, with this piece of music. So I'll play it back now, and so you can hear that the whole rest of that whole end of that section of the verse rather than just the resolution, so you can kind of hear how it builds up.
With a thankful heart, with an endless joy, with a growing family, every girl and boy will be nephew and niece to me. Nephew and niece to me. Will bring love, hope, and peace to me. Love, hope, and peace to me. Yes, and every night will end, and every day will start with a grateful prayer and a thankful heart.
See, there you go. And so seeing as how we have this very simple repetition in this song, I think I mentioned something about this also in, when I was talking about Polar Express? I can't remember, where there's like, even in songs, even in orchestral music, like film soundtracks and stuff like that, there's still, it's still possible to have great repetition in a song. It's not always pop songs that are repetitive, and that's why we like pop songs. There's repetition even in orchestral like soundtracks and stuff like that. So you really get a sense of, so like it really doesn't matter what style of music it is. There's always as long as you have repetition, like, and if it's a good idea to repeat, like if it's worth repeating, then yes, it's going to be a very nice song. Sometimes, repetition is annoying. That's why certain bad songs get stuck in our heads, like the Rebecca Black song, Friday or whatever. Like sometimes repetition is bad, but a repetition at the same time can also get you a great song. So that's what I just think is so great about this song, is that it's so simple. Very end of the movie, really is just supposed to, give a sense that it's finished, give like that the movie is finished before going into the grand finale. So like you've just got this really nice repetition, like building up. This is a classic example. If you want to learn songwriting, like this is a classic example. Thankful Heart is a classic example of how to write just a nice, strong song. It's not very long either, so it's like you remember more of the song. There's not a whole lot of extra fluff in it. So yeah, and then you throw in, sleigh bells. You've got this really nice orchestral arrangement, and boom, you've got a very strong song to close out this movie. And so I think, and I think that's also a good way to close this list. A Thankful Heart has such a great message. I just hope that during the holidays, no matter what goes on in politics or, any of that sort of thing, this is the time of year. Just, please treat each other with the utmost respect. If you can, and just be thankful for the life that you have now, and hopefully we can continue to move forward. I just think this song is such a great message. Sorry to get all deep on you there, but I thought this song was so perfect for especially at this time. And this movie and this story has been told so many times. I feel like now more than ever we need to really adhere to these values that are in these songs. So. That's my those are my favorite Christmas songs. At least some of them. There's so many more. There's just so many more songs in the commercial music industry that I really like, and then also traditional Christmas songs. "Deck the Halls" is one of my favorite. Just general Christmas songs around this time. That's it. I just wanted to share some of my favorite Christmas songs, and I hope you really enjoyed this list, and I look forward to getting back to some other. Popular musical subjects, but I thought it would be a great idea to do a Christmas episode, and shoot me an email or send me a message on my Facebook, my business page, Mute City Music on Facebook. And I just love to hear what you all thought of these songs and what your favorite Christmas songs are. I think this is just such a fun time of year. And I'm already looking forward to next year, so I'll have plenty of time to think about what I want to do for that one. I'll have to do something even more special than this one was. So, all right, that's going to do it.
All these happy wishes and lots of Christmas cheer is all I really want.
All right, at this time, I'd like to bring in my special guest once again, and this episode, again, I have my brother Alex. Yay!
Good to be back. I love that Family Guy.
Yeah, I like that song. I mean, I think the Christmas Time Is Killing Us is a little bit better. I think it's a more well-written song.
As a song, yeah.
But I think they're both great. I enjoy both of them. What are some of your favorite like Christmas movie like soundtracks, like what or least favorite, like what from movies are some of your favorite songs, or even scores? I would even accept like different musical scores.
Blanking.
Totally blanking.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's just so many Christmas movies and episodes. Like,
right?
It's Christmas episodes are obligatory, almost in TV. Let's see, Die Hard, also very high on people's Christmas movie list.
Technically a Christmas movie.
Yes, the score serves that movie well, but not a Christmas. It's not very cheerful. It's just a movie.
That's okay.
That takes place at Christmas.
Like the Nutcracker.
Like the Nutcracker. Yeah.
Isn't that weird to say, like, if, by that logic, the Nutcracker and Die Hard are just as Christmassy? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for the classics and like all of those like TV specials that came out in like the 60s and and like the Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and they had Jimmy Durante and singing the the songs and stuff.
I was just looking up a list on ASCAP. ASCAP released a list of the 30 most played Christmas songs in the past 50 years.
Yeah.
And those were a lot of. I think Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was like number 9, and then you had what else was on that list? I'm trying from those movies. Frosty the Snowman was in the top 20 somewhere.
Good.
Number 1 was Santa Claus Is Coming to Town, I think. Was number 1.
One of my personal favorite Christmas,
like traditional Christmas songs.
Yeah, traditional Christmas songs is Silver Bells.
Oh yeah.
It's just
I love Silver Bells.
It sets just a perfect mood that's absolutely suited to Christmas.
Yeah.
And in the hectic time of year that it can be, I listen to Silver Bells, and it's just like
Silver Bells. Silver Bells. Yeah, I love that.
And and the verses are very like the imagery is great.
There's a great version of Silver Bells. Have I showed you the version by Harry Connick Jr.? Silver Bells?
Yeah, I think you did.
And I think he actually arranged it. I don't know if he did all the orchestration. I don't know if he does that stuff. But Harry Connick Jr. is a true musician. And there's a fantastic arrangement. I'll have to play that maybe next time.
Okay. Did you talk about the Santa Claus with Tim Allen?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, the Christmas music.
Yeah. There is good music in that, isn't it? I couldn't remember. All I remember from that is I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas, that version of that song. Yeah.
See, we both know it. Exactly
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we both loved that movie growing up, but also the dun, 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 dun.
Oh, right.
It's
yeah, that's a great theme. That's
great
pretty much
theme.
the theme of the movie.
Yeah, that's the musical theme of the movie.
I want to see, actually, I want to look up and see who that was really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, who did the score.
Great movie, great score, and it captured the magic of that movie really captured the magic of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
In part.
Well, and how old were we? Let's see. It came out in 1994. I was 3.
Well, yeah,
I was 3 years old.
We watched it well after that, like when we were 10, 12, 15,
Yeah. But I just can't believe how it was that long ago that we
Isn't that crazy though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, all cast and crew.
I mean, that was like really at the height of Tim Allen's, popularity with Toy Story and Home Improvement and
Yeah. Oh, the classics. There we go. Michael Convertino?
I wonder what
I don't
else
know who
he's
that
done.
is. Santa Claus, Bull Durham. Nothing else that I would really even know. I'm looking through his. Oh, Jungle to Jungle. How about that?
That's
more
funny.
Tim Allen. That's interesting. Well, yeah. So I don't know. Every once in a while, a composer comes up that I'll have to check him out because every once in a while there's a guy that comes up that I just do not recognize.
Yep.
And then, but like the Santa Claus too, like that theme is it just seems very appropriate. It really makes sense for the holidays. It feels like a very festive melody. It feels like a very festive theme. And the whole score almost feels like something, but it almost sounds like, like I don't know, like from one of the Newmans, like one of those scores.
I see what you're saying.
Or even like Alan Silvestri. Like there's just so many like composers that have done like a lot of popular films.
Yeah.
And, they have, like, it's kind of like Space Jam, because when Alex Reed and I went to see Space Jam, Alex Reed I think is going to be my guest next week. By the way, I'll formally introduce you to him. But we went to see Space Jam, and James Newton Howard did the music for Space Jam, and that like it has such a unique, like he's done so many major films, but everything sounds different. Like everything sounds so appropriate. And I was watching a video some guy did about he did King Kong, and this guy was kind of picking apart that score a little bit. And it's just like it's just so amazing how like just two totally different movies, and he really like that's like master composer right there, just really changing up the feel. And but that's what these guys do, is that they make sure they write what's relevant to the movie. They don't like these Marvel films a little bit. I've been talking a lot about this lately too, is with different people. It's like the Marvel movie soundtracks all kind of feel the same, yeah, and like they don't sound distinct from one another. Not that there's not interesting things happening, but it just doesn't feel like that score is married to that movie. I feel like they're
interchangeable.
Like they're writing to the action that's on screen, but not there's no distinct theme that's really, aside from the Avengers theme, which was by Alan Silvestri, I believe, from the first Avengers movie, who, for those of you who don't know, he also did like Back to the Future, I think. Yeah, I might be getting people mixed up, but because I tend to do that. But yeah, it's so like these Marvel films. I did you see Doctor Strange? I felt like it wasn't until Doctor Strange, Michael Giacchino did the score for that one.
Oh, well, that would make sense.
I feel like that was the first time that really he wrote a different. He had like a good theme, but he was able to transform that theme through different wherever they were. Like in the movie, they jump between settings in London, New York. But going back to Christmas a little bit, like the Santa Claus was one of those scores that was just really, distinct for that movie. Just felt like a really classic film. I wish I could remember like something from a little bit later, like maybe Christmas with the Cranks, one of those movies.
Or
another comedy, I can't really remember what those. There's so
Elf?
many different. Right.
Elf. Who did the score for Elf?
Danny Elfman. No, I don't know. Yeah, gosh, there's just so many people. I'm so bad, people. I'm sorry. There's just so many composers.
Well, I mean,
I wish I knew all of them, but there's so many.
You got to get a degree in it.
There's so many movies, though. It's like there's just so many movies. How do they can't. It's not like the same guy or one or two guys can do all the movies, know.
Right.
So, were there any other like favorite or least favorite? What about least favorite Christmas? Anything?
I don't know. I'm a sucker for Christmas.
I always felt that some of those Polar Express songs didn't really make sense.
Well,
they were fun,
okay.
Fun songs, but just not Christmas
now that
related.
You bring that up, that was just one of those movies that really didn't hit home for me.
Me neither.
I think it was the fact that it was just Tom Hanks's voice like 50 times.
Maybe.
And he, they did a pretty good job disguising it, but it just, I know it's part of the idea of the movie, but
right.
I don't think it worked. Just have this totally transporting journey and don't have it be the dad's voice and the Santa's voice and the conductor's voice. It's just like,
right.
Anyway. And then Hot Chocolate, I remember singing Hot Chocolate in high school choir. Yeah.
Oh, you singing in choir? I was saying how we played that jazz ensemble arrangement in middle school.
Yep.
I also said earlier how I played that "Rockin' on Top of the World" song in the car for you, and you couldn't, you knew it was cool that you knew it was, rocking on top of the world, top as in North Pole, know, but yeah, that was impressive, but it's still how do you know what movie that is unless you've seen it a million times?
Exactly.
Is that song is that song at the end of the movie or something? I think it's somewhere in the middle.
Or sometimes they just make songs like that for the credits only.
Yeah. I feel like it's maybe in the credits.
I don't remember it in the movie.
Yeah.
No, you. So you.
But
said
still, it's
you said least favorite songs, and as you were talking about that "Rockin' on Top of the World," I thought of "Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree."
Oh, okay.
I detest that song.
Really?
I don't like it.
Maybe
it's just the vocals.
Actually, yeah. I feel like that. Yes.
Rocking around.
Yeah.
It's a good song. You don't have to try and convince me,
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, I've never really been a huge fan of Jingle Bell Rock.
I'm behind you on that too.
Really?
Oh yeah. I'm behind you.
Yeah, let's keep going. Is there any other traditional? We keep kind of bouncing around between movies and traditional Christmas songs. I like the Little Drummer Boy. Those are nice. I enjoy those.
I think every once in a while, and I think it's a little overdone, but every once in a while you'll get a real, a really nice version of Noel, the first Noel.
Oh yeah. That's a really nice song.
I said Josh Groban.
That may be
a good one.
Maybe one of my favorites as well.
It's one of those that if you're a crooner, everyone's gonna do that song.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of covers of that, but it's a great song. I think it's well written.
Yeah.
"Deck the Halls" is another one of my favorite traditional, more traditional songs.
Maybe if you can find it. Remember, I've told you this before. There was a "Deck the Halls" in 7/8 time. That's one of my favorite.
Oh, really?
Oh, my favorite arrangements of a Christmas song.
Interesting.
Yeah, it
I'll have
was
to look for
Deck
it.
the Halls in 7/8. It was awesome. We sang it. That was a
Cool.
choral piece, I think we sang.
Yeah, it'd be like da, 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 deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la.
Yeah,
Da,
it was.
da, da.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, something like that. That's cool. Yeah, those are fun. If you can do a good like Christmas arrangement, that'll make you a few bucks. Lots of good stuff. It's interesting how everything's kind of, there's lots of like, more religious religious Christmas songs, and then there's like the more commercial Christmas songs, and then Christmas movies. It's just, I think it's such a fun, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Well,
it's such a great time for music. Although the people do get carried away a little bit, especially with those commercials. Oh man.
I think. Well, I mean, it's such an integral part of Western culture, Christmas as a holiday, and and how it's evolved and celebrated over the centuries. You can track that through music, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
People, classical composers, or before were thinking about Christmas and writing their own Christmas
I'm
music.
sure Tchaikovsky was just so excited to like, oh, this music's going to be played every Christmas season.
Yeah. Well, maybe not the Nutcracker.
Yeah. I don't think Tchaikovsky liked the Nutcracker.
I'm not an expert in like, Baroque or classical.
I mean, who
music,
knows?
but
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. I'm not a historian.
But like Bach and like those guys were, Christians, so they celebrated Christmas, and they wrote probably Christmas masses and things like that too. So
it's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, thanks so much. I think we definitely covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we did
this episode.
It was fun.
Well, I appreciate all the input. It's nice to have another person come in and kind of share their perception of Christmas and Christmas music and all that stuff. So,
absolutely, anytime.
And I'm sure the listeners they deserve a nice break from listening to me ramble about everything. So, so I appreciate it, and I'll look forward to having you on again the next time.
Absolutely, looking forward.
Hopefully, it's not next Christmas. It should be. I'll make sure it's sooner than that. So.
I hope not. Okay.
Cool. All right. Thanks.
Well, I appreciate it.
Okay, everybody, thanks for tuning in once again. I'm Zack Demas, and you've been listening to The Soundtrack. Hey, if you enjoyed this and you want to hear more, please feel free to subscribe via iTunes and also Blueberry.com. I just got the podcast uploaded to that directory as well. That's especially great for Android users who can't use iTunes. This Blueberry.com, I think it's spelled Blubrry or something like that. It's spelled kind of weird. But you can go to that website and you'll see it there. And there should be a way to subscribe if you have an Android phone. So that way everybody hopefully has access to this podcast, and hopefully you'll all subscribe and get psyched for some more great stuff. We got some more great stuff coming up. And also while you're at it, I am on Patreon as well. So just go to my website, www.mutecitymusic.com. There's a tab for the soundtrack on my website. You just go there, and there's a link to Patreon, and so please feel free to subscribe, become a patron, I should say. Lots of great rewards for people who contribute, and I can keep making great episodes like this, and I have some great goals that I'd like to meet, and hopefully you guys will be able to help me out there. So yeah, get psyched, because next episode I'm going to be doing a Star Wars podcast. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it yet, but I do know that I want to do Star Wars because a little movie called Rogue One is coming out. Star Wars Rogue One's coming out next month, so I figured I'd do a big Star Wars episode in celebration of the latest release. So I hope you're looking forward to that. And man, and you guys just have a great, have a Merry Christmas, have a great holiday season, Happy Holidays. Please stay safe out there and take care of each other. And I will look forward to talking to you guys again. All right. Take care, guys. I am out.